Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York, the fourth of five children to Fred Trump, a highly successful real estate developer, and Mary Ann McLeod Trump, an immigrant from Scotland. His father, Fred, was a self-made man who built and managed middle-class housing projects in the New York City boroughs of Brooklyn and Queens. Fred was a demanding, meticulous figure who instilled in his children a fierce work ethic and a competitive spirit, teaching Donald from a young age to be a killer and never back down. Donald's mother, Mary Ann, was a more reserved and private figure who nurtured his love for pageantry and grand events. She was a fashion plate who followed a strict schedule, and Donald inherited her affinity for spectacle and public presentation. As a boy, Donald was known for being energetic and sometimes disruptive, once famously giving a black eye to a music teacher he disliked. He was a rambunctious child who often clashed with authority. Because of his behavioral issues, his parents sent him to the New York Military Academy at age 13, believing that the strict discipline and structured environment would help focus his boundless energy. At the academy, he excelled in sports, particularly baseball and football, where he was known as a competitive and gifted athlete. He also performed well academically, rising to the rank of captain, and credits the school with teaching him discipline, structure, and the importance of leadership. After graduating from military school, he attended Fordham University for 2 years before transferring to the prestigious Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Wharton, at the time, was one of the few institutions that offered a dedicated undergraduate real estate program. He graduated in 1968 with a degree in economics, and during the Vietnam War, he received several draft deferments, including one for bone spurs in his heels, and did not serve in the military. After college, Trump joined his father's company, Elizabeth Trump and Son. While Fred's business focused on reliable, if unglamorous, rental housing for the middle class in the outer boroughs, Donald had grander ambitions. Drawn to the high-stakes glamour and public spotlight of Manhattan, in 1971, he took control of the company and renamed it the Trump Organization. His first major project in Manhattan was the redevelopment of the aging Commodore Hotel next to Grand Central Terminal. This project was a masterclass in deal-making. He secured a 40-year tax abatement from the city, a crucial incentive that made the project financially viable, and partnered with the Hyatt hotel chain. By sheathing the old brick building in a modern reflective glass facade, he transformed it into the Grand Hyatt Hotel, which opened in 1980 and brought him significant public attention and praise for his ability to navigate complex city politics and finances. His next landmark project was Trump Tower, a 68-story mixed-use skyscraper on Fifth Avenue. To build it, he demolished the former Bonwit Teller department store, a move that stirred some controversy for the removal of its Art Deco sculptures. The building, which opened in 1983, featured a striking atrium with pink marble and a 60-foot waterfall, luxury apartments, and high-end retail shops, quickly becoming a symbol of his wealth and the Trump brand. He also expanded into Atlantic City, New Jersey, opening several large casinos, including Trump Castle in 1985 and Trump Plaza. His most ambitious casino project was the Trump Taj Mahal, a massive complex that opened in 1990 and was initially called the Eighth Wonder of the World. The project, which was funded with over $1 billion in junk bonds, showcased his penchant for spectacle, but also his high-leverage, high-risk approach to business. Another notable, if less lucrative, success was the reconstruction of the Woolman Rink in Central Park. After a city-run project had floundered for years with delays and cost overruns, Trump publicly offered to take over the project, completing it under budget and ahead of schedule in just 3 months, a move that garnered him positive media coverage and solidified his public image as a competent problem solver. Trump's business career is marked by both impressive successes and significant failures. His assets, including numerous hotels, golf courses, and licensing deals, are estimated to be worth billions, though the exact figure is a constant subject of debate and has been challenged in court. The 1990s were a difficult period for his businesses as the real estate market slumped and he had taken on massive debt, particularly in Atlantic City. The Trump Taj Mahal, which cost over $1 billion to build, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy just a year after opening. This was followed by the bankruptcies of Trump Castle and the Plaza Hotel. His strategy was to use corporate bankruptcy laws to restructure his debts and protect his personal wealth. By filing for bankruptcy on behalf of his companies, he was able to renegotiate with banks and bondholders, often giving up a portion of his ownership in exchange for more favorable terms. This allowed him to maintain control and continue to receive a salary and other benefits from the struggling companies, while shareholders and investors often lost most of their money. His only publicly traded company, Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts, also filed for bankruptcy in 2004 due to over $1.8 billion in debt, and he resigned as chairman shortly before the company's final filing in 2009. This strategic use of corporate bankruptcy has been both praised as a savvy business practice, a way of using the system to one's advantage, and criticized as a reckless approach that harmed investors and bondholders. His greatest success was arguably his ability to turn his name into a global brand, a process greatly aided by his media career. He licensed the Trump name to a wide array of properties and products, from real estate to a now defunct line of steaks, leveraging his celebrity to generate income without investing his own capital. This branding strategy proved incredibly lucrative, making the Trump name synonymous with luxury and success in the public imagination, even as his underlying businesses faced financial turmoil. After the financial struggles of the 1990s, Trump refocused on his personal brand. His 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, co-authored with Tony Schwartz, became a bestseller, presenting him as a master negotiator. The book cemented his public image as a shrewd and successful deal maker, and its sales and popular reception significantly boosted his national profile beyond the realm of New York real estate. This book and his public persona as a larger-than-life figure laid the groundwork for his next career as a media celebrity. The turning point was his hit reality television show, The Apprentice, which premiered on NBC in 2004. The show, which he co-produced with Mark Burnett, featured contestants competing for a one-year, $250,000 contract to manage one of his companies. It was an instant success, and his catchphrase, "You're fired," logically became one of the most famous lines in television history. For 14 seasons, the show presented a carefully crafted, often uncontested image of Trump as a decisive, successful, and powerful leader, a persona that proved to be a powerful political asset. This image helped him transition from a New York real estate developer to a global brand, leading to numerous licensing deals, a clothing line, and other ventures like the now defunct Trump University. Trump University, a for-profit real estate seminar company, faced legal challenges and a multi-million-dollar settlement over fraud allegations, with students claiming they were misled by the company's promises. His media presence was further amplified by his frequent appearances on cable news, where he was a sought-after guest commentator known for his provocative and often controversial statements. Donald Trump's public personality is often described as confident, brash, and confrontational. He is known for his unconventional communication style, frequent use of superlatives like tremendous and huge, and a tendency to use nicknames to mock his opponents. Supporters view this as a sign of authenticity and strength, a refusal to conform to the norms of political correctness, and a willingness to speak his mind. They see him as a fighter for the common person, a man who isn't afraid to challenge the established order. Critics, however, see it as a sign of impulsiveness, a disregard for facts, and a troubling deviation from the decorum expected of a public figure. They argue that his rhetoric is divisive and his public statements are often misleading or false. He has a unique, often adversarial relationship with the media, which he frequently refers to as fake news and the enemy of the people. This approach has been central to his political success, but has also fueled constant controversy and criticism over his claims and statements. He was an early and prolific adopter of social media, particularly Twitter during his presidency, using the platform to bypass traditional journalists and communicate directly with his base, often in real time. This method allowed him to set the news agenda and control his message, a strategy that proved to be both highly effective and highly controversial. His family has been a central part of his life and career. He has been married 3 times. In 1977, he married Ivana Zelníková, a Czech-American businesswoman and socialite, with whom he had 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. The couple was a fixture of the New York social scene during the 1980s, but they divorced in 1992 amid public scrutiny. He then married actress Marla Maples in 1993, and they had 1 daughter, Tiffany. They divorced in 1999. In 2005, he married his current wife, Melania Naus, a Slovenian-American model with whom he has a son, Baron. All of his children have been involved in his business and political endeavors to varying degrees, with Donald Jr. and Eric taking over the Trump Organization when he became president. Ivanka and her husband, Jared Kushner, served as senior advisors in the White House, with roles in both domestic and foreign policy, particularly concerning the Middle East. Trump's political career began in earnest with his 2015 announcement that he would seek the Republican nomination for president. His campaign was unconventional, marked by large, high-energy rallies and heavy use of social media. His main slogan, "Make America Great Again," resonated with many voters who felt overlooked by the political establishment. Running as a populist outsider, he secured the Republican nomination and, in a shocking upset, defeated Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton in the 2016 general election, becoming the 45th President of the United States. His victory was largely attributed to his appeal in key swing states in the Rust Belt and his ability to mobilize a base of voters who were dissatisfied with the status quo. His campaign message focused heavily on immigration reform, trade protectionism, and a promise to dismantle what he called the swamp in Washington, D.C. The election was also marked by allegations of Russian interference, which led to a federal investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller. The investigation concluded that Russia had interfered in the election, but did not establish that the Trump campaign had conspired or coordinated with the Russian government. As president, Donald Trump's domestic policies were characterized by tax cuts, deregulation, and conservative judicial appointments. One of his most significant legislative achievements was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which dramatically lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% and provided tax reductions for individuals. While proponents argued it would stimulate economic growth, critics contended that it disproportionately benefited corporations and the wealthy and added to the national debt. He also focused on deregulation, signing numerous executive orders aimed at reducing federal rules on businesses and industries, from energy to finance, often with the stated goal of promoting economic growth and reducing the regulatory burden on companies. His administration's efforts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, ACA, were a major political focus, but ultimately failed to pass Congress, though his administration did weaken aspects of the law. In terms of judicial appointments, Trump had a profound and lasting impact, appointing three conservative justices to the Supreme Court: Neil Gorsuch, 2017, Brett Kavanaugh, 2018, and Amy Coney Barrett, 2020, shifting the court's ideological balance to a solid 6-3 conservative majority. On immigration, he pursued a hardline stance, promising to build a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, and his administration implemented a zero-tolerance policy that resulted in the separation of children from their parents at the border, a policy that drew widespread international condemnation and was eventually rescinded. His administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic also drew widespread criticism, particularly his public statements about the virus, his promotion of unproven treatments like hydroxychloroquine, and the federal government's response, which was often criticized as being slow and disorganized. On foreign policy, Trump pursued an America First agenda. He withdrew the United States from several major international agreements, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP trade deal, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and the Iran nuclear deal. He renegotiated NAFTA, replacing it with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. He also initiated a trade war with China, imposing tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. This was done with the stated goal of correcting what he saw as unfair trade practices, though it also led to higher costs for some American businesses and consumers and retaliatory tariffs from China. A key diplomatic effort was his three meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, though these did not lead to a formal denuclearization agreement, but did represent a significant shift from previous U.S. policy. He also moved the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem and oversaw the Abraham Accords, a series of agreements that normalized relations between Israel and several Arab nations. His relationships with traditional allies were often strained, as he frequently criticized NATO allies for not meeting their defense spending commitments. While he expressed a more amicable tone toward leaders like Vladimir Putin, a stance that drew concern and criticism from many foreign policy experts. Donald Trump's presidency was marked by constant political battles and significant controversy. The House of Representatives launched two impeachment efforts against him. The first, in 2019, related to a phone call in which he asked the president of Ukraine to investigate his political rival Joe Biden in exchange for military aid. He was impeached by the House for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, but was acquitted by the Senate in 2020. The second impeachment came in 2021 after his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, following a rally where he had encouraged them to march to the Capitol. He was accused of incitement of insurrection, making him the only president to be impeached twice, but was again acquitted by the Senate, though the vote was the most bipartisan in history. He has also been at the center of numerous scandals, including multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, which led to a civil lawsuit that found him liable for sexual abuse and defamation. He also faced scrutiny over the Stormy Daniels hush money payment, a case that resulted in a jury finding him guilty of falsifying business records in relation to that payment. These controversies have contributed to a highly polarized reputation, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, he is viewed by his supporters as a populist hero who fights for the forgotten man, a strong leader who is unfairly targeted by political opponents. Critics, on the other hand, see him as a divisive and dangerous figure who threatens democratic institutions and norms. Internationally, his reputation is similarly split, with many traditional allies viewing him with apprehension and concern, while some populist and nationalist movements around the world have expressed admiration for his anti-establishment stance and America First policies. After losing the 2020 election to Joe Biden, Donald Trump left office in January 2021. Despite no longer being president, he remained a powerful force in American politics. He continued to hold rallies and was a key figure in the Republican Party, endorsing and influencing candidates in local, state, and national elections. His political activities were accompanied by numerous legal challenges and investigations, including those related to his business practices, his actions following the 2020 election, and his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House. He faced criminal charges in several jurisdictions, including for his alleged role in the January 6th events and for his handling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence. He was also found liable for business fraud in New York in a civil trial. In November 2022, he announced his third campaign for president, seeking the Republican nomination for the 2024 election. His life story, from a New York developer to a reality TV star, and then to the highest office in the country, is a unique one in American history. He remains a central and debated figure, with a legacy that continues to shape the political landscape in the United States and around the world. His influence extends beyond policy and elections, deeply impacting the culture of political discourse, the role of social media in public life, and the relationship between political leaders and the media. His presidency fundamentally altered both the Republican Party and the dynamics of American politics, and his ongoing legal battles and political ambitions ensure that he remains a dominant and polarizing figure in the national conversation. The events of his life, from the ambition of his early career to the tumultuous years in the White House and the challenges he faces today, offer a complex and deeply contested narrative that continues to evolve.